to all of you social friends, local connections, and anyone who seems to have tripped upon our episode today of Real Living in Chicagoland. Happy July. Happy Thursday. Let me add my co-host, Rick Batista, into the conversation. Hello, Rick.
Hey, Bill. How are you?
I'm doing well. So first thing first, how was your getaway? How was your vacation?
No, coming up. End of the month.
Coming up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Had a pretty good holiday weekend. I was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. Things are looking up in the world.
You're facilitating peace between sellers and buyers, right?
Yeah.
There you have it. There you
have it. How about you? How you been enjoying the summer?
I have been enjoying the summer. Even though we busted out of the gate, we flipped from winter to summer. I'm just kidding. We had a little spring. We busted out of the gate, I think, for both you and me here in Chicago with some steamy temps. I'll be honest with you. I don't mind it as soon as we know that in the immediate horizon, we might get temps and the weather like we're having this morning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
That's one thing. Like the market, Chicago weather is unpredictable.
It's up and down. Yeah. It's up and down. So with that, Rick, why don't you lead us off with dropping your perspective on the current market, what's happening with real estate, selling real estate, buying real estate in greater Chicagoland?
Well, I think I probably said that to the last few episodes. It's just an interesting market, and it's always interesting based on different factors. But across the board, a lot of things are down or flat. New listings, closed sales, and things that are under contract. There's a detached market, and there's the attached market, which is condos and townhomes. We're seeing a lot more activity in the attached market. There's more affordability. One thing that we don't necessarily have data for specifically is the multi-unit properties, which I personally have been seeing a lot more activity with buyers interested, again, affordability factor. And I'm actually working with a couple of buyers who they're either looking for true multi-unit properties, so 2 to 4 flats, or a single family where they could have what they traditionally call the in-law suite, or even have a basement that they could possibly rent out, whether it's to family, friends, or just become a true landlord. Yeah. So there people are just looking for options. And when you look at some of these old homes that we go into, I mean, gosh, the way that some of the old timers set up properties, these single family homes, you think it was like a boarding house or something. So history repeats itself, right? And I'm sure affordability factors were not people just trying to make money, but just housing affordability factors were a thing at that time as well. So
sure.
We're seeing that. Interestingly enough, because I mean, I certainly have noticed a shift, I would say, in the last 2.5 to 3 weeks. Maybe it's because the Crain's article saying it was a buyer's market now, and people just fall in line with that. But I still wouldn't say it's a buyer's market. Yeah. At least not yet. I still believe the sellers have the upper hand. Yeah. And it all boils down to having a good product that is priced properly.
True.
And because we're, at least the data through, will be coming out, Chicago Association of Realtors will be coming out with data in a few days for June, through the month of June. But the most recent data we have for, through May, it shows the average sales price were still up. I mean, not by a ton, but it was still up comparatively year over year. And the percent of original list price received, definitely close to asking, either 98, 99% range in there. Housing affordability is still down. Months of supply of inventory, we're barely at 2.5 months, in both categories. The market time, kind of surprising to see the data was actually down slightly for the attached market and pretty flat for the attached market. So, but again, things that are priced lower, I would say, in the, 7, maybe under 800,000. Chicagoland is considered affordable housing.
That's true.
And the condos and multi-units seem to be the hot product right now.
Okay. All right. I agree with you. I think the market is opening up. I agree. I don't think it's tilted fully to a buyer's market yet. I think there are more properties, more sellers coming onto the market.
Yeah.
And maybe what you kind of alluded to, what you and I either read in professional journals, we hear from our peers, is buyers have more choices, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But most recently, I'll share this story with you. Most recently, one of my buyer clients, submitted a very clean offer with an escalation clause on a subject property. Initially, they were not the chosen buyer, so it put them. We went back to square two, if you will, in the search.
Yeah.
And then literally 2 weeks later, Rick, out of the blue, my buyers were alerted that, hey, are you still interested? Why? The chosen buyer's financing fell through, right? And so all of a sudden we were kind of like, oh, let's pick up where we left off, right? Yeah. So I think in that respect, there's more properties coming onto the market. Sellers realize that, yes, while they may get multiple offers, right? You work with a lot of sellers. Yeah. You have to be smart.
Yeah.
Your broker has to be smarter to make sure you choose the right buyer offer.
And I will say two things. One thing, more philosophical. There's an old Cuban saying, which and I'm sure other cultures and languages have a similar saying, but translated loosely says, "Whatever is meant for you, no one can take away." Yeah. So if this is going to be your home, even if your offer didn't even get accepted the first time around, if it's meant for you, it's meant for you. Yeah. But I think it's crucial when you are a buyer's agent and a listing agent that you know that the lender that the buyer is going to work with is somebody who can get you to the closing table. Yeah. Because I have been seeing when I'm either running comps or I'm looking at, I set up all my clients on real-time searches. So the moment a listing hits the market, gets reactivated, price change, whatever, they get a notification and I just jump on it to see if it's a good fit for them. And I'm seeing a lot more reactivations. Either they put it, listing agents will put it in the broker private remarks in the MLS or call them and find out that it was, at first you think maybe it was the inspection, but more often than not, if it's under contract for a longer amount of time, it's because the buyer didn't get financing. Yeah. So people out there who are thinking of buying, you need to work with a great lender like Bill, because you are going to be vetted out ahead of time. And as a listing agent, anytime an offer comes in, I'm calling the lenders because I can care less if they're putting 50% down. I want to call the lender and ask, certain questions to make sure, give my seller client peace of mind that this lender knows what they're talking about. Yeah. And they're going to get us there that you want to vet out the buyers as much as possible. So all they're doing is picking out a property and doing an appraisal. Yeah. And that's it.
Do you think buyer's remorse might play a small factor in some of those properties that fall out of escrow and then get reactivated? What's your opinion?
I think if it gets reactivated in a short amount of time from going under contract, that's the case. Yeah. Typically, the buyer's remorse comes in after they've done the inspection. It's like, hey, wait a second, I didn't want to deal with that stuff. Yeah. And I mean, as a buyer, I have clients who may need to understand the reality of a situation. If you're looking in specific areas within a specific budget, the property is probably going to need some more work than others. If you want a property that's just completely moving and ready, you don't have to touch anything for 5 years, then you got to pay more. Yeah. If you can do it, great. If you can't afford it, then you got to deal with the reality of the situation. Yeah. But yeah, there's. I think in the society that we're living, where there's a lot of instant gratification, The moment they put an offer on a place and then another listing pops up that they might like more, then they might go and chase after the next shiny object. But I when you work with buyer clients enough and you go and tour properties with them, you the moment you walk through the door, you get the feeling that it's the right one for them. There's some that you wonder what the hell are they thinking, but if it's meant for them, it's meant for them.
I will lean in and say this. I think when a buyer is working with a very effective team of service providers, real estate broker, lender, home inspector, attorney, I'm adding the different layers in here. I think when that consistent, effective team is really doing great things for the benefit of the buyer client, my opinion is you tend to minimize the likelihood of buyer remorse. And the reason why I say that is because, having worked with you before, it always boils down to one key basic thing, and that is setting proper expectations, having those candid conversations. That's what relationship is all about, right? It's kind of like, hey, I'm going to give you my opinion. I know this might be worrisome or scary for you, but this is just an opinion that I think you benefit hearing from.
And I totally agree with that. And I often associate real estate with personal relationships. And if you can love somebody when you see them first thing in the morning, and for you've seen all their flaws and you've seen the ugly side of them, then you know what, then that's the person for you.
That's true.
And same thing with a home. If you see something and it is just, I can't believe the furnace is this old, I can't believe the roof needs to be repaired and stuff like that, but this feels like home, and I can make this my home, and you're gonna find a way to make it work. But you do have to have very, very, like I said, candid and brutally honest conversations with them, because I would much rather they know what I see up front, and know that going into the inspection. Because once you pay for an inspection, you're not getting it back. Right?
That's right.
Once you pay for an appraisal, you're not getting it back. So
That's
why continue to spend money on a property unless you are prepared, to just get strapped in and go along for the ride?
Yeah, very true. And rewind to what you said at the very top. I'm paraphrasing. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Let's shift gears now, Rick, and have a little fun with each other. We can have fun with each other. We can do this in a couple of flavors. We can drop in our serious perspective, our humorous perspective on this, or last one, maybe even a sarcastic one. So here goes. Here goes. Rick, what are those common questions that you get from, let's start with sellers? What are those common questions you get from sellers?
How much is my property going to sell for?
And you're like, do I have a crystal ball?
I mean, in this industry, we cannot predict anymore.
That's true.
Before there used to be such a seasonality to the market, and things were steady. But let's face it, we turn on the TV or open our phones, and it's just a shit show every day, and who knows where the fires are burning today. But they're just getting closer and closer. So there's a lot of uncertainty in the world. I can tell you what history shows us. I can show you the data of what's the most recent data of what properties like yours should sell for. But I oftentimes find myself scratching my head because, in any other situation, 9.9 out of 10 times, the house should sell for this. This is what should happen. We shouldn't have any more than this many showings before we get an offer. And the market's going to do what it's going to do, and the market is driven by people. People are unpredictable.
That is true. And you and I know this. It's a very common cliche. The home will sell for what a buyer's willing to pay.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So I love that common question. What will my home sell for? What's another one?
Why am I not getting any offers? My neighbor sold theirs in 2 days. What's going on?
You know what? It's so funny you bring that one up as a very common question from sellers. Right now in my personal world, we have a relationship with someone who's been trying to sell their home for mic drop for almost the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And I know for certain that question has come up.
Yeah.
Why haven't I gotten any offers? And the answer is, Rick.
If it's been on the market that long, I'm going to guess number one, either they haven't come down in price, or it's a higher price point that you have a smaller buyer pool.
Well, bingo. Yeah. So it is an upper bracket property. They have not come down in price based on what the market is telling them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, yeah, that's unfortunately a very common question that I know you as a real estate broker get. One easy solution to it is price it right from the get-go, right?
And if you don't price it right from the get-go, you can lower that baby as much as you want, and you're just basically shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
So, the days of let's test the market out for the next 2 months at this price, that's gone. That's
gone. Okay. All right. Let me throw this question at you, because I think I hear this sometimes as a common question from seller. I hear about it both through personal relationships, but also through the chatter when I'm in a transaction.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, how clean does a home need to be for the final walkthrough? Do you have an answer to that?
Broom swept condition, unless anything else is agreed upon. Broom swept condition.
Okay.
Get all your crap out of there and
bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
That's my expectation. Hey, it's empty.
Yeah. Bingo. I think that's where, when that question comes up, if you really hear it, listen to it, you peel it one layer back, it's kind of like, okay, sir, ma'am, what stuff are you thinking you should leave behind or want to leave behind?
Yeah.
You probably don't want to leave it behind. No one wants it.
Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, you're going to slow the outcome down for yourself.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
I have had last minute situations right before the closing table, the final walkthrough. Hey, what's this still doing there?
I know.
One story in my younger and dumber days, it was a large home in the suburbs, like a mini mansion. Yeah. And the buyers had come in at a very, very low ball price. And my client stayed firm. Every time we counted, it was at the same price we counted it.
Okay.
And they reluctantly, they loved the house. They came up, and it started off at over $200,000 gap to understand. But there was a little bit of bad blood there come closing day on both sides, and there was a refrigerator downstairs in the basement. At that time, ComEd was giving $50 or whatever for if they come and pick up your refrigerator, they would give you a credit for $50. I don't think they do it anymore. And the buyer's like, I want this out of here, and the seller's like, I'm not moving it.
Oh my God.
So this guy, I took off the doors. I found a hammer. I smashed off the doors and pulled the refrigerator. It was in the basement, so I was pulling it up the stairs by myself until the seller saw me, and he ran around into the house downstairs and helped me push it the rest of the way up.
Oh wow!
But you got to do things to get to the closing table.
True, that is so true. We are in a full service business, right?
Yeah. No service is above us.
Yeah. Right on. All right, let's now, as we wrap up, shift our gear to the last conversation topic today. What are those common questions you get? I know I have a ton of them, but what are some common questions you get from buyers?
The number one question I get is, do you think they'll take this price for it before we even see the house?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Before they even see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
Even after we see the house, I don't know.
Right.
But you have to have that conversation. Do you want to come in with a respectfully low offer?
Right.
Or do you want to come in with an insulting offer?
Right.
And my strategy is, if you love this house, let's not be silly.
Yeah.
We can come in lower, but let's not be silly. I mean, given the situation, if we know there's a line of people at the door, you know what? Let's keep on looking at another house if you're not ready to pay list price. Right? Yeah. But other than that, if you love the house, if you're prepared to walk away from the house, then I can write an offer for $1.
Yeah.
Right. But if you want this house, then let's not play games.
Yeah. It's almost like using a dating metaphor. It's almost like someone asking before they even go to the first date, hey, am I going to get a second date? And maybe am I going to like score a home run? You and I know what that means. And you're like, I don't know. It could blow up on you, man.
Yeah.
All right. Let me drop this common question for you that I get from buyers.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you've heard this one. The common question I get from buyers, and usually it's from buyers that are engaging in a conversation early, and that is, what's my interest rate? And I'm like, I don't know. We need to learn more about you to see what you are eligible for and what you qualify for, right?
And even when you qualify them, it can change by the time they pick a property.
Exactly. Because I say this, rates are like gas prices, subject to change every day.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you don't need to fill up, who the F cares?
Yeah. It is. Do you want to buy a house? That's the number one thing. Because when you want to buy a house, it's because of your situation, right?
Right.
Whether it's 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, you want to buy a house, you're going to buy a house.
Yeah.
So like you said, I mean, you can walk it, pump the gas, it's one price. You go and get a Snickers bar, you come out, it's another price.
Yeah. Or you can drive way west out to, let's pick on a far west town or suburb. You can drive all the way west to DeKalb and probably find cheaper gas prices.
Exactly.
There you go. All right. What's another common question you get from buyer? I'll wrap up with mine, and then we'll end our episode today. What's another common one from you?
A common one. I don't know. You go first. Let me think of mine.
Okay, I'll go first. Maybe we're thinking alike. All right. A very common one I get is, and I usually get it in the first half, right, of the process. And that is, how much money do I need to bring to closing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
That's
my answer for all of you watching us, listening to this live stream episode. My answer is this. Don't know yet. Why? Because we still have some work to do.
Yeah.
But my real, honest, serious answer is this. Buyer, if I or your chosen lender have done what they are supposed to accurately and disclosed the necessary figures in your transaction for you, what you see in that initial loan estimate should be the worst case scenario. So the amount of funds that you'll need to bring will not exceed more than that.
Yeah.
Most likely it can be less than that. That's my serious answer.
A good way to plan.
Yeah.
Is there a certain percentage or range, percentage range-wise that you give to buyers? Like, you know what, you can expect your closing cost to be this to this of the purchase price?
Yeah. I usually use a rule of thumb, your buyer side closing cost, plan for it to be about 2.5% of the sale purchase value of the property. Okay. Yep. Yeah.
I thought of my question.
What is yours?
When I'm talking with a buyer, you first have that consultation. You know, it's you want to give them enough information, but not too much, because it's just going to go in one area out the other. There's just so much to retain, right?
True.
So the biggest question you get throughout, what's next?
What's next? Yes. But I like that question.
Yeah, it's a great question.
I think that question, when you and I get it, to me, it does two things. It tells me, maybe you, that they've listened to what we told them.
Yeah.
We're gonna do what we've done, and they want to know, hey, what's next on the docket, so we can focus on that together. I like that one.
It's a great question, and I love answering it. And again, it's so much information, and so much that's involved in the buying process and the selling process. It's impossible if you're not in it every day. It's impossible for you to remember everything. So,
yeah. And by the way, that common question, what's next? It also applies into the metaphor of dating, right? Yeah. What's next?
Yeah, exactly. Are you ready?
Are you ready? Yeah. Are you ready? Yeah. All right, audience members, thank you for tuning in to today's Real Living in Chicagoland live stream conversation with Rick and myself. For those of you who have your question that maybe we didn't answer, how can you engage us in a conversation? Really, really simple. All you need to do is simply scan the QR codes that you see here. Rick and myself will gladly start a conversation with you to answer your specific question. And if you have one that you want to drop into social media platform, we'll lean in and give you our response as well. So as we wrap up, Rick, have a great Thursday. Feliz Jueves. And Music Posse, play us out. We will see all of you in the next episode.